Greetings. Today we're going to be making soft and thin tortillas like your mama used to buy you down in Mexico. So we're going to start with 2/3 of a cup of warm water and 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to mix that in together really good. We're going to use this later, so we're going to set it aside. Alright, now we need some kind of fat. What I'm using is about 3 tablespoons of butter, and about 2 tablespoons of oil. You can use lard, butter, different types of oil, bacon grease, or shortening. I'm going to pop this into the microwave for about 30 seconds initially. Now we're going to add 2 cups of bread flour. I like to use the Bluebird flour, comes in a cloth bag. Cortez Milling Company out of Colorado. It's good flour, good price, cool bag. Okay, well, the microwave is beeping, so let's take the oil out and see what it looks like. Remember, we just want to soften it up. We don't want to cook it. We don't want it bubbling or boiling. Just soften it up so we can whip it with a fork. And then we're going to very carefully dump that into the bowl of flour and start mixing this up by hand. What you want to do is to get it to kind of look like crumbly. It's not going to be a smooth, consistent dough until we add the water and start working it with our hands. So that looks kind of crumbly. That's about as good as it's going to get. Now we're going to take that water and salt and we're going to dump that in there. And again, we're going to initially mix this with a fork. Remember, you can use any kind of oil. 2 cups of flour, about 5 tablespoons of oil. 3 of olive oil, 3 of vegetable oil, 2 of lard, 2 of butter, whatever you got to do. Whatever you have. They're all going to taste a little bit different, and you'll come up with your own favorite, I'm sure. We're going to add a little flour to our work surface here, and we're going to turn this dough out and start working it. Now, this is not a yeast dough. There's no rise that's going to happen here. So what we want to do is just mix it up till it's a nice smooth consistency. There's many different ways of kneading. Doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you work it good. And throughout the process, feel free to add a little bit of water here and there if you think it's a little too dry. If the dough is too wet by the time you finish this kneading, yeah, add a little more flour. This isn't rocket surgery. I'm going to speed up this kneading process because this takes 3, 4, 5 minutes and it's rather boring to watch. Alright, now we're going to cover this dough up. And we're going to let it sit for 20, maybe 30 minutes. So after about 20 minutes, we're going to take a look. You don't need to use a scale. I did. I just added it up and divided by 6. So we're between 75, 80 grams, something like that. The autofocus on that camera is really lousy. It seems to like to focus on the top of my head. Alright, this dough looks pretty good. Pretty soft. Pretty malleable. It should roll out very nicely. I don't think the wood surface that I'm using here is ideal for rolling out dough. I think it tends to stick once in a while and it affects the shape as I'm rolling it. Trying to make these nice and round is not very easy, and it's also not very important. As long as they fit in the pan and cook evenly, that's all that matters. So we're going to check the pan by dropping some water into it, and you see how they sizzle and just evaporate? The pan is not hot enough yet. It has to get hot enough so that the water dances on the surface, forms little balls, and rolls around. Still not ready, but it's getting there. While I'm waiting for that pan to heat up, I'll pre-shape a few more of these. And you can see the 2 cups of flour that I used is going to make about 6 medium-sized tortillas. The water's forming little balls and they're shooting around, so we're going to call that hot enough, and we're going to add a little bit of oil. So here we go, lightly oiled pan. We drop our first tortilla in, move it around with our hand. You got to keep an eye on these as they're cooking. Takes less than a minute aside normally. I prefer to put one in the pan, roll out the next tortilla, flip the tortilla, finish rolling it out, then remove them. Some people like to pre-make all the tortillas, especially if they have a press. But look at that. See, we've got some little bubbles there. This is what you want to see. A little bit of color. That looks wonderful. Okay, that one looks to be pretty much done. I'm going to flip it over just a little bit. See how it's bubbling up? After every 3 or 4 tortillas, I'll wipe the pan with that oily paper towel from the initial oil. And this one's bubbling up a little bit. Give it another 20-30 seconds. Try to fix the ugly shape of this one. Oh, doesn't that look good? No matter the shape, they taste wonderful. So we're going to fast forward through some of these because I think you get the idea. Okay, so we're working on the last one here. I'm going to throw it in the pan. So I think you've seen that making tortillas, a little bit time consuming. It's very cheap. To go buy a dozen or a half a dozen good fresh tortillas, if you can find them, is never cheap. Unless you live south of the border and there's a woman down the street that makes them. I don't have that luxury. I don't have a source for good tortillas. That looks pretty good. We're going to put them in the pile, cover them with a towel. Look at that. Oh, don't they look lovely? We got a half a dozen fresh, warm tortillas ready for the evening meal. Thanks for being here. Stick around. Let's see what happens next.